Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of the Brett and Matt Show. As always, he's Brett, I'm Matt, and week one of the NFL is in the books. Good to have football back. I think a lot of people around the country enjoyed their Thursday night game, and then obviously the slate of games on Sunday, and we had a couple just last night too. So with that said, I guess we'll just kind of dive into things. So what's the first game on the list, Brett?
Steelers Patriots Thursday night. And the Patriots, of course, came away with a 28-21 victory. What do you got?
Well, I was happy that they allowed the Steelers to score that garbage time touchdown because that helped my spread pick. But anyways, takeaways. Honestly, if the Steelers wouldn't have missed field goals in the first half, that Patriots defense didn't look like it was anything special. Like the Steelers were definitely moving the ball up and down the field on them. DeAngelo Williams all of a sudden looked like he was back to being a relevant running back. Really productive, I thought. Yeah, biggest takeaway for me was that the Steelers really missed some opportunities. And I have Gronk on my fantasy team, but let me tell you, when you don't put any defender on him at all, what do you think's going to happen? I mean, even Madden has enough sense to know to throw someone on the guy. Come on.
Yeah, that was obviously the biggest thing. Now, Pittsburgh's bringing in they're starting a new defensive coordinator guy, right? But you can't think communication, even after you've been practicing games for over a month, in practice before that. How do you just leave the best tight end in the game uncovered? They did that like 2 or 3 times. Like one was a touchdown, one was like the 50-yard play or whatever it was there in the fourth quarter, I think. That just kind of like led to another score. That was pretty abysmal. And then, yeah, I mean, I felt honestly like Pittsburgh more or less beat themselves than New England beat them.
Yeah, that was my takeaway from the game, actually.
Yeah, they did. And obviously, Brady throws for 4 touchdowns. He's going to be on some sort of revenge kick. I don't know if that makes him any more motivated. But you could see how amped up he was when he came out of the huddle for the first time, or the tunnel, sorry. The first time, and he's just throwing his arms around. I thought he was going to throw his arm out of socket before he even started the game. I mean, he just looked way too excited. So, but I mean, obviously, you still got to hand it to the Patriots. And if the Steelers' offensive line isn't a little bit better, because I know they struggled in certain aspects, despite DeAngelo running for 127 yards on only 21 carries. So he had a really good game, like you mentioned. But the top performers, literally at every position, quarterback, running back, and wide receiver, were all Steelers, and they ended up losing. I think having Martavius Bryant come back in a couple weeks and Le'Veon Bell, that team's going to be really good, at least offensively. Defense still might suck, so it's going to just be shootouts, like Mac football, Bowling Green type style. Score 45, allow 46 type games. Those would be fun.
The last thing I will say about that game is I think the Patriots are really going to miss Darrelle Revis, which probably an understatement. I mean, you're talking about what most people would consider one of the top defensive players in the whole league, arguably the best corner in the whole league. Obviously, to go from him to Butler. I thought Butler did all right in the first quarter.
Plays.
In the first quarter, he held his own against Brown, but after that, I mean, Antonio Brown, I mean, let's be real, come on. Antonio Brown was just abusing the poor guy on routes. And there were a couple plays where he was right there, and somehow Brown still makes the catch.
Right, like the one-handed around his helmet
awesome.
Sort of catch.
Yeah.
That was a great catch. I mean, Butler's there. Brown made a better play.
Yeah, and but I mean, as the game progressed, Brown was kind of having his way with Butler, and so that's something I mean to keep an eye on is just how maybe the Patriots are going to be in a lot of shootouts if the defense can't stop the run and they have trouble stopping the pass too. But either way, the Patriots did enough to win the game, so that's what really counts.
All right, then game 2, the Packers and Bears, our Green Bay Packers versus
our Green Bay Packers. Watched the whole game from start to finish. It was a good Sunday. The place I went was handing out free beer. It's great.
That's awesome. Where'd you go for free beer?
We went to the bar down in the bar. It's called in Cedar Creek, and they were handing out like Oktoberfest beer samples, but they didn't stop handing them out. Like they must have came around like 4 times to our table. So we were doing that for every Packer touchdown. They were giving out Jello shots. It was great. It was a Sunday fun day for me. But nonetheless, I mean, the Bears. I will be straight up with the Bears. Actually surprised me. They played. They had a game plan going into the game, and I felt like they did everything to the best of their ability to execute that plan, except for there were two key series where it got away from. The first one was when they went for it on 4th and goal. It was later in the game, and they didn't get it, and they turned the ball over on downs. That might as well count as a turnover. And we went 3-and-out, and we ended up punting it right away. And then on the next drive is when Jay Cutler throws the pick to Clay Matthews. So they had 2 drives where they didn't get any points at all, and that's when the game definitely took a major swing, and that's when they kind of lost control of it. But up until that point, they had done a really, really good job at limiting Aaron Rodgers' time on the field. And I think if you're going to beat the Packers, that's probably one of the best ways to do it is keep our best player off the field, because the more you do that, the less of a chance he has to get in a rhythm. And I know early on in the game, it kind of felt like that a little bit, like we were just kind of just not in rhythm as well as I would have liked. But the Packers were able to put together some drives of our own as well. Obviously, James Jones turned out to be a huge factor, catching 2 touchdowns. One of them was definitely just vintage Jones stealing the ball from the defender. I mean, it was pretty good showing.
It's too bad he didn't get the third one.
It's true.
But yeah, we gave up 140 yards to Forte. Did that look just like a personnel thing? Because I didn't get to see this game. Was that just like a scheme thing? Were they just outmanning us at the point of attack, or what was happening?
Sneeze.
Bless you.
Now I got the feeling that it's going away. It sucks. Honestly, it was people not filling the right gaps. Felt like Forte a lot of times was finding the cutback. A couple times, Sam Barrington was out of position or guessed the wrong hole, which opened up the cutback lane, which didn't help anything. Ultimately, you hit on, you asked about the point of attack. I felt like we got beat at the point of attack. The run defense is definitely very suspect, and as far as I'm concerned, hasn't really been improved very much. But it's the first game of the season, so I don't want to completely blow things out of proportion. But, I mean, that's definitely what I saw.
It's nice to have Raji back, though. I think BJ had a decent game. He had a pretty cool spin move I saw on Twitter. He spun around a guy, and I think he tripped him up or held him and tackled him. But it's nice to see, 300 and whatever, 20 pounds of guys spin around a center like that. And I think he'll be helpful, especially back at the nose tackle position. Which is where I think he belongs, right?
Yep. I mean, he played nose tackle his whole life, and for whatever reason, Dom Capers and the defensive line coach thought it was a great idea to try him out at defensive end when he was a stellar nose tackle. So I don't know. No idea why people make these decisions. But, yeah, it was good seeing him back at nose tackle. The one thing that I would say as a takeaway is the Packers played well. The offense, I think, is going to continue to be good. Obviously, both of us are pretty high on Aaron Rodgers. I guess the biggest thing for Aaron Rodgers is just that he just doesn't throw interceptions and doesn't turn the ball over, which is extremely helpful.
Yeah. All right, next game, man. We got the Chiefs and the Texans, with the Chiefs coming out ahead 27-20. We got, the Texans switching quarterbacks partway through the game. Hoyer to the bench, Mallett coming into the lineup. Did you see any difference between the two guys, and if one played better than the other?
Well, Mallett led the charge to get them back in the game. So, I mean, the fact maybe Bill O'Brien really knows who he's going with this next week. He has said publicly that he's not announcing it because he doesn't have to. So there's suspense of whether Hoyer might actually be starting again. as far as the defense goes, for the Texans, I witnessed J.J. Watt make a sack with no helmet on. Is that legal? Can you do that?
I don't know if it is or isn't. I didn't think it was, but he did it anyway, so good for him. He actually had another dominant, typical J.J. Watt type game, though, where he had 6 tackles for a loss and 2 sacks.
He's a monster, man.
Apparently, he said that they're finally letting him loose. I don't know what he's been doing the last 3 years when he's been the best defensive end, but now they're letting him loose, and that's just kind of scary.
Hey, J.J. Watt might be the first player to win. You know, the last player to win the MVP as a defensive player.
LT.
Yes, LT. Lawrence Taylor was the last player to do that. Hey, J.J. Watt, his team won a Super Bowl. Got some work to do, bud.
Man, it's not. They had what? They had a Phil Simms a quarterback, right?
Oh, come on.
As much as I hate that. Phil Simms, I think, has the record for most consecutive completions in a playoff game.
Oh, come on.
He's like 25. It's like 25 straight completions. It's insane.
Are you sure it's not Rich Gannon?
For 22. I'm pretty sure.
This is dipping and dunking his way down the field. Anyways, Jamal Charles obviously is still good. Oh, and Kelsey, the tight end, man. I don't know. Oh, Brett, where's J.J. Watt on that play, huh?
Oh, what, is he supposed to guard him too?
Well, he let Alex Smith make the pass. I don't know where the defense was on a couple of those. Nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I think it was that quarters coverage is something that they play sometimes, and
defense I get torn up in
I think it was a clear out on one side, and he came underneath, so the safeties were occupied, or corners and safeties occupied deep, and Kelsey just kind of came across the middle, right? I don't know why no one tackled him after that. I probably wouldn't get in front of the guy either, to be fair, but I'm not getting paid millions of dollars to make the play, so.
Either way, it looks like the Chiefs are going to be a force to be reckoned with because they still have a really good defense. I was probably silly for picking them to finish so badly. And you were probably right in picking them to do good.
Did I pick them second still?
I think we both picked Denver first, which, by the way, when we get to that Denver game, I got some things to say because I watched that whole game.
We'll get there soon enough. Next game, though, is the Jets and the Browns. You know, your boy Johnny Football getting some playing time. Johnny Football
threw his first touchdown. It was the highlight. I was excited. It's unfortunate that he got thrown into a crappy situation where he's got no receivers, no offensive weapons besides himself.
Wait a second. Who are their receivers?
Exactly. His touchdown he threw was to Travis Benjamin. Are you against the Jets? Come on. The Jets have one of the best secondaries in the whole league, even with Cromartie getting hurt.
Yeah, especially now. I forgot that they all came back to the Jets, which is really weird considering I figured Rex Ryan would be the guy to be able to pull them back or keep them there in the first place. But they're all back. Yeah, I mean, the Browns still stink, unfortunately. Defense actually last year had one of the better run defenses, but sucked against the pass, right? Or was it the other way around?
They got that backward. They had the worst rush defense.
They was the worst. Well,
they had a really good pass defense, but they were awful against the run.
Okay. It doesn't look like they probably fixed it either way. They allowed 31 points. Were a lot of those any defensive scores for the Jets?
Johnny threw a pick. I did watch McCown get helicoptered, though. I understand how he got concussed. It was bad. He went to dive, and his helmet just went, and his whole body just helicoptered around. It was bad.
Yeah, probably not the best idea to do that. Just slide with your feet next time.
Takeaway, though, the Jets still have a good defense.
Do. Though, of course,
Browns are still going to struggle.
Joe Thomas still had a positive grade. Guy's phenomenal.
It's too bad he plays on such a crappy team.
Right. Why did he have to sign an extension with that team? Colts, Bills. Bills with the perhaps surprising upset of the Colts, 27-14.
Okay, you got to talk about this one.
All I know is that this game itself was just how the Colts always are. It's just they start slow and everything. Maybe they're just going to start.
Andrew Luck's a second half guy, though, right? I mean, I saw the score and at halftime, and I thought to myself, it's Andrew Luck. Second half, he'll come on. I'm not worried.
possibly. Offensive line, though, still stinks. I don't know.
How'd Frank Gore do?
Not good. I don't think he did anything. I don't think he did anything. Johnson didn't do anything.
I saw T.Y. got hurt.
T.Y. got hurt. Tyrod Taylor for the Bills, was at least mistake-free. Made one beautiful pass deep to Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
For a score. I mean, it was really the only big play, I think, offensively for the Bills in the passing game. But, I mean, I don't know. Realistically, I think that Bills defense and that team in general is probably a little underrated, only because they will keep other teams from scoring a lot of points. And if they can just keep, some mistake-free football at the quarterback position, they should be relatively dangerous to kind of make a couple upsets like this.
That's fair. I didn't get to watch any of this game. The only thing I saw, I just remember seeing the final score and being shocked by it. Obviously, Andrew Luck must not have played his best game, I would guess.
Nah, it wasn't great. Looks like he completed just over, 55% of his passes, 26 of 49. So it was not an exceptionally great performance on his end. They'll do better. I mean, they're still a team to beat in the South. I mean, you got Jacksonville and Houston down there. Tennessee probably gonna not overreact to that first game. We'll get to that later, but before we get there, we got a couple more games to talk about. We got Dolphins, Redskins. What do you got?
The only thing I gotta say is Kirk Cousins played better than I thought he would. That game, the Dolphins won on a walk-off punt return, pretty much, is what it was. And I think I want to say the Miami was only 4-point favorites or something like that. So the spread wasn't super high, and it just would have been funny if they, somehow would have if the Redskins would have honestly managed to cover, because I think I was expecting the Redskins to get blown out, and they obviously held their own. Sue did another Sue type thing I saw, so
Guy's a scumbag. I don't care if that was accidental or not. Guy's a scumbag.
He is. I don't understand how many times you can. What's that old saying? If it looks like a duck, if it sounds like a duck,
like a duck,
or if it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Well, I mean, this isn't the first time this has happened, so it's a little old hearing this happen all the time. But whatever. I guess the NFL's not going to do anything about it. So.
And considering he just got paid, Sue only had 2 tackles and didn't really disrupt or have much of an effect on this game overall. As much as you'd expect a guy making $100 million to have. Game 1, I guess, it's maybe to be expected that he didn't just dominate right away. But I didn't think Washington's offensive line would really be able to handle him. Trent Williams obviously is good, but looks like their interior offensive line was a little bit better than I'd expected. Yeah,
Kirk Cousins wasn't playing center, bro.
Maybe that might be it. Yeah, Kirk Cousins had a decent game. I mean, they still only scored 10 points, and they're going to have to figure out a way to obviously generate more from that. I don't know what the running game looked okay even too. I mean, Alfred Morris had 120 yards. That just can't put the ball in the end zone or even kick it through the uprights, apparently. Next game, Panthers, Jaguars. Jaguars stink, of course. So Panthers won 20-9.
Yeah, I mean, the game was actually kind of close at the beginning, and I think everyone expected Carolina to ultimately win. I don't know how much this really shows for Carolina, though, just because, I mean, the one thing I got to say about Carolina, why is Jericho Cotchery not get any love ever? The guy has bounced around, and, is a solid, number 2 guy. And for whatever reason, no one likes him.
Yeah, he's pretty solid. Also, him being as good as he is and being better than, well, obviously not Calvin Benjamin, but the kid they drafted out of Michigan. I know a lot of people wanted Funchess to kind of be the guy. He was drafted probably well before Kotchery wasn't fantasy rounds. Well, we all are dumb. We all got on this rookie hype train, and of course, Kotchery is just Kotchery, and he just does everything solid. I also think still the Carolina Panthers defense, obviously really good. Might have a little bit to do again with playing Blake Bortles, who is not great. Still has one or two plays where you say, yeah, that's the guy who they drafted him to be, and then the rest of his plays are mediocre or below average at best. So he's definitely going to have to start improving if they're going to really hope that, he's the answer. Because after this year, next year, they're probably going to have to start looking for another quarterback if he doesn't show promising signs.
It's true. You gotta make plays and gotta continue to show improvement at least. Who's next?
Next game, Hawks-Rams, with the Rams with the 3-point win in overtime.
All right, so this game, didn't get to see it. I heard the call on the radio because I was driving home. Obviously the Rams surprisingly got out to an early lead. And then the Seahawks obviously made a push, a comeback. Actually, both teams' special teams was making plays. Tavon Austin, Tyler Lockett. Both sides, their special teams made plays for them.
Attempted onside kicks.
Which, by the way, Pete Carroll is really ballsy. Onside kick in overtime. I actually don't hate the idea. I just haven't heard anyone do it before.
I think it's probably actually a good idea for the most part, because if you recover it, it counts as the opposing team's possession. So a field goal would win it. You don't even have to score a touchdown, and you get the ball obviously around midfield. So 15 yards, especially playing inside, you're in field goal range already. If you don't get it, well, just don't allow a touchdown, which obviously you have confidence no matter what happened the rest of the game in your defense if you're Seattle. So you're like, okay, maybe we give up a field goal, which they did. And
which at that point they're already they're closer than obviously kicking it off.
Unless you're afraid of Tavon Austin, but I like it. I think it's not a terrible idea in overtime.
It's a Pete Carroll thing to do. Ultimately, it wasn't that ended up not allowing them to win the game. Came down to a fourth down play where they decided to give the ball to Lynch, and he just didn't. I don't know. From the way it sounded on the radio, I actually didn't get. I think I saw the highlight of it, but on the radio caller made it sound like when Lynch got the ball, he kind of saw someone unblocked. So he decided to try and cut it inside, and there wasn't anywhere to go there either.
Yeah, I think he missed something. But at the same time, that offensive line is bad. I mean, I know they made the trade for Jimmy Graham.
He scored a touchdown.
Perhaps their best offensive line piece. But none of those guys are any good, really. And Jimmy Graham's not helping in the run game either whatsoever.
What? Jimmy Graham's not helping in the run game? He's a great blocker.
They made this trade and downgraded the offensive line and downgraded the run blocking aspect of tight end. So it's kind of like, okay, so to gain anything out of this trade, they really are going to have to honestly, which sounds weird, but they're going to have to utilize them a lot more than I think what they did, and they're going to need to arrow it out more, which behind that offensive line also makes you thankful that you have a guy like Russ Wilson who can extend the play, because he's probably going to be under pressure 50% of the time.
I do have to say this. There's one thing that's really funny. Did you hear about that story about Russell Wilson tweeting out 1-0?
He's going to do that for everything.
I know. I understand this, but it's just funny. So he tweeted out 1-0, right? He obviously is just saying, that's their goal every week. And he actually clarified it in the tweet that he later said was that, we expect to go 1-0 every week. And
he's been using that mantra since college.
Yeah, you know what? That mantra didn't work in 2 big games that I wish would have worked, dang it. Actually, 3 big games. I think he lost 3 at Wisconsin. But so anyways, so a Seattle fan came to Russell's defense and called out Akeem errors on it, actually. And Akeem, he said about how Russ has a ring, and Akeem Ayers tweets back at both this fan and Russ a picture of him holding up his middle finger with the Patriots Super Bowl ring from last year because the fan was an idiot and didn't realize that Ayers was on the team last year that beat
the I think Ayers actually made the play that tackled. He's the one that tackled Lynch on second down or whatever it was, first down, when Lynch almost scored.
Like, come on, man! Like, know your stuff if you're gonna call out someone like that. Goodness.
That was kind of fun. But yeah, everyone on the Rams like retweeted. Like, Chris Long did. The Rams official account did.
Yeah, it was like, the Rams official. Yeah.
It's like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, he says that if you go back, he'll say 1-0 every week.
I will say this about your boy Russ. He's put himself in the spotlight. He's doing what Aaron Rodgers doesn't like to do because Aaron Rodgers doesn't like to be in the spotlight about things. But I guess when you're dating Sierra, that kind of happens.
Oh, another funny story, and I think this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard about. So Russell Wilson and Ciara are dating, right? Ciara's ex is Future, and he apparently makes good music. I think it's shit, but I don't know. The guys on the team want to listen to it, but they're all afraid to like play it over the loudspeakers and stuff because Russ and Ciara are always there.
Like the guys on Seattle?
Yeah, so like they want to play it during like practices and stuff like that, but like they don't ever. The DJ is not allowed to play it, or he's afraid to play it because he thinks it'll be weird.
It's just
which
music.
I think. I don't think Russ would care. I don't think Ciara would care. I think Future's the only one in all of those three that's angry at anything. He's just being hypocritical. Anyway, enough of this garbage. Dude, Aaron Donald is a fucking monster.
He's awesome. He's good. That defensive line is good.
They have I mean, I know it's Pro Football Focus. You got to take everything, whatever. 4 guys on that line had a positive grade, like above 4, which is really good. And Donald had a 10, which I think was the highest of the week. Just ahead of J.J. Watt, who had a 9.3. It's like that defensive line is good, and it also doesn't hurt, that they're playing a very bad offensive line. But that front is sick, and Donald might be already the best defensive tackle in football. It's pretty damn close. I don't know who else I'd even put up there. Obviously, different styles at a 4-3, 3-4. Like if you put him in a 3-4, it's probably different.
Probably in the conversations. What, Sue? Gerald McCoy.
And that's probably the extent of it right there, because he can stop the run and he's a great pass rusher. There's obviously guys like I know Don Terry Poe had a good year last year, but I think he's hurt too, not as versatile in terms of run and pass. Yeah, dude, Donald is disgustingly good, and everyone that passed on him because he's 6 foot or whatever is just making another mistake because he's a short guy that's not heavy enough. But anyone that watched him and how explosive he was off the line, how quick and how strong he really is like the dude's a beast. Oh, and before we're done, on to this next one. I'd like to say who tied that game up.
Who?
Lance Kendricks, baby. Lance
Kendricks.
Yeah,
Lance Kendricks. Nick Foles. Not terrible, right? That was a nice play. I will say this. I was worried that Kendricks was going to drop it.
I saw that ball.
He was all by himself. I would
Because you're that alone. You just kind of like lose focus a little bit, and you're looking around to see who's the closest guy. You're like, oh yeah, but he caught that and just got that in there for the tie, which is kind of cool. I think it was like his only catch. I think he had one other catch for 0 yards earlier, so that's kind of cool to see. Next game, Saints-Cardinals. Cardinals pulling away there in the second half. Actually, they took the lead into halftime. Ended up winning 31-19 over the Saints.
Now, do you remember why I picked Matty Ice and the Falcons, Brett? Because I said Drew Brees is a little past his prime.
He's not past his prime. He had a good game.
Really?
Ish. I mean, it was an outstanding game. He did throw for 350 yards, completed over 60% of his passes. He just doesn't have anyone to throw the ball to.
What?
I mean, you got Cooks and you got like an 86-year-old Marcus Colston.
It's not my fault that they don't use Cooks, right? I don't know what their problem is. I have Cooks on like 3 of my fantasy teams, and I wish Sean Payton would give him the ball more.
I think they probably throw the ball to running backs. Of course, yep, they throw the ball to Mark Ingram, leading receiver, 8 catches, 98 yards.
Wow.
No, I'd like to have him on my fantasy team just for that. PPR league, please. But I think obviously probably the bigger story. One, Ellington. I think it was Andre Ellington for the Cardinals got hurt.
He did, of course. Same.
So they got Chris Johnson now, and they got that kid that scored actually that last touchdown. David Johnson out of I think it was Northern Iowa. Took that pass like 55 yards for the score to kind of clinch the game there at the end of the fourth. I'm hoping I can pick him up for fantasy because my team stinks. But despite winning, you got anything to take from that game at all?
Just that if Carson Palmer can play, that type of game, the defense plays good. I mean, they're gonna be in games and have an opportunity to win them, even when they go against, as Brett would call him, an elite quarterback in Drew Brees.
He is an elite quarterback. He's still a top 5 guy.
Top 5?
Top 5.
Top 5?
Top 5.
Let's see. Top 5. Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck, Marcus Mariota.
Oh my God! You just created 2 of those guys who I wouldn't put top 5, but that's for another day.
But he did have a perfect quarterback rating. Just saying.
Another thing I think too is obviously you mentioned Palmer. I saw one play he escaped the pocket, like rolled right. Oh my God! I don't think I've ever seen Carson Palmer move that good. They must have gave him robotic knees, in the offseason, because that guy was not a mobile guy before. At least I didn't think he was. Next game though is the Chargers and Lions. Oh my God! Thank you, Chargers, for coming back. It just made Green Bay's life easier in the division. Because they were down pretty
down kind of big,
and ended up coming back and winning 33-28. What do you take away from that game?
That Philip Rivers is really good, and I think I would rate him ahead of Breeze personally. But what? The guy wins. What do you want? He came back. Anyways, though, and all joking aside, Rivers had a big day. They, like you said, they were losing most of the game and came back. I wish Melvin Gordon would have played a little better.
The offensive line still doesn't open that many big holes. Occasionally, you can find a way to squeeze through. I know Woodhead did for a 1 score. I feel like Philip Rivers did a pretty good job under some decent pressure on some of those pass plays. He gets those passes. He doesn't even step into it. And, of course, he uses goofy throwing motion to get it to where it needs to go. Keenan Allen was great. I think, obviously, the Lions, you can kind of feel a little bit. 1, DeAndre Levy didn't play, and 2, Sue, obviously, is not on the team anymore. And how much of an effect that had on that team defensively towards the end of that game where they needed anybody to kind of make a play or be a leader. And there was just nobody to kind of gather them together during that collapse. Also, Matt Stafford, still don't think he gets it. He still makes some really boneheaded plays.
Yeah, he does.
He had that. I know there was a couple of picks. One of them, which he just threw right to the guy who was just standing there. Golden Tate went out and up. Apparently, Stafford just thought he was running an out route. Just threw it right to the corner. So Stafford's not getting it yet. And, I mean, he's got the tools, but he's not ever going to be an elite guy. He'll put up a lot of points, a lot of yards. But, from a technical standpoint, I don't think he's ever going to be, an elite guy.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, next game, the one you want to talk about, Mariota and Tennessee Titans destroying the Buccaneers.
Well, Bucs fans, something to look forward to. The only other quarterback for this first pass to be picked off and ran back for a touchdown is the legendary Brett Favre. So that's pretty good company to be in. Pretty good company to be in. Marcus Mariota, on the other hand, had a pretty much perfect quarterback rating and tossed, 4 touchdowns in the first half. And, I only missed 3 passes the whole game, went 13 for 16. Looked every bit of, what he was, drafted to be. I don't know. I would be pretty excited if I was a Tennessee fan.
Yeah, and you got to at least be kind of happy, obviously not just with the production, but the way that they ran the offense. It wasn't They didn't ask him to do a whole lot deep down the field, realistically, or like inside the numbers, or maybe it was outside the numbers. I forget which way, but they had a lot more easier throws for him, which obviously helps, you know. And if you can do that, and I thought it was pretty funny too, is someone on Twitter, I think it was Ian Kenyon. He's like, man, they should trade Mettenberger to Tampa Bay. That was funny. Can you imagine making that phone call, be like, hey, Tampa Bay, we got this quarterback. We saw that you had some troubles with yours. Maybe you guys want one of our backups. I just think that'd be funny, just to make the call, just to troll Tampa Bay after crushing them. But obviously, one game isn't enough to say one way or the other whether Mariota or Winston will end up being better. You know, that's a conversation we will hopefully have, 10 years down the road, if all things go right for both their careers. But after one game, yeah, Winston didn't look great, though he's got some giant targets. I know Seferian-Jenkins, who you really liked coming out of the draft last year, had a really solid game.
He did.
But that defense, when was the last time Lovie Smith's defense was actually any good?
Dude, man, I don't know. Lovie Smith might, if they struggle again, he might be gone. Like, if the whole year goes bad, they might look to make a change because, I don't know, the defense just isn't working.
Yeah. And then, let's see, the following game, I think it was the Bengals and Raiders. Bengals with a 20-point victory, 33-13. All 13 points, by the way, for the Raiders came in the fourth quarter, so it wasn't like it was actually even that close.
Well, the Raiders lost Derek Carr. It's obviously a big loss.
So except when Matt McGloin had to play?
Yes. I will say that, Andy Dalton's a really good regular season quarterback sometimes. My takeaway is that the Bengals are really talented, and they can definitely compete to win that division.
I think I don't know. I feel like we almost overrated the Raiders because it wasn't even close, up until Carr's injury.
I don't know what we were thinking.
But I mean, the defensive line, despite that, they still played pretty decent, I think. The running game for Cincinnati didn't really go anywhere. They averaged like 3.5 yards a carry or something. Dalton had, probably a couple Dalton moments. So I will say, like I mentioned before, AJ Green doesn't always help him out. There are plays where he just kind of gives up on like a route or a play. I feel like when he wants to, he's really, really good. But he's got those moments where he's just not focused. Maybe he's thinking back to his pro day when he tripped over a wire. Which is hilarious and totally irrelevant. I just want to bring that up every chance I get. Ravens Broncos. Ravens get the victory, 19-13. Was there an offensive touchdown in this game? Sorry, Broncos victory, 19-13. Was there an offensive score in this game?
I don't believe so. I watched pretty much all of it. Kind of, was in and out of it a little bit, but I did watch the vast majority of it. Man, Peyton Manning, I think he's past his prime, like way past his prime. Like he should have thrown 2 pick sixes. And the biggest takeaway I have from that game is just he cannot put zip on the ball anymore. He just can't. Like, even just like screen passes, he has trouble getting the ball out of his hand quick. I think the Broncos are going to really struggle against your Chiefs that you picked to win the division. In fact, I think the Broncos might struggle against the Chargers.
They might.
But the Chiefs, I can just tell you right now, the Chiefs are going to give them problems, I bet Tamba Ali and D Ford and Justin Houston, I bet those guys are just going to tee off on. The one thing I will say, Denver has a really good defense, and it's going to keep them in a lot of games.
Dude, their pass rush is really, really good.
Oh,
they got
pass rush is crazy.
Really solid corners still. And Talib, Chris Harris. They've got some really solid pieces there. But, yeah, they didn't run the ball very well at all. Peyton's not getting those passes where they need to go. He took a lot more pressure, some sacks than he normally wouldn't take in the past. I don't know if that's just an issue of the line or him not getting the ball out soon enough or feeling comfortable. But, hey, despite all that, they still got the win. They still somehow beat a Ravens team who I think a lot of people predicted to go to the Super Bowl or at least be one of the contenders for such that. Did you pick them to win the division?
Denver? Or the Ravens. I picked the Ravens, but the one thing I will say about the Ravens, they lost Terrell Suggs for the whole year. That sucks.
That does suck. I did
That's a
forget about
big
that.
loss.
To bring that up. So that is obviously a huge loss. They still have, I think, Demerville on the team who will provide pass rush, but it's always nice if you can get it coming from both ways consistently. So that is a huge loss for them. Other one, let's see, Giants as the night game Sunday, the Giants and the Cowboys. Cowboys come back to win 27-26 with just a few seconds left, scoring there. What do you think of that game?
I actually didn't get to watch any of it, so the only thing I can speak of is just from what I've read and stuff. But obviously losing Dez for an extended period of time hurts. Actually, the Cowboys just made a trade to acquire a receiver from Oakland. So they're obviously trying to fill the void. Who was it? This wide receiver named Butler. He's 6'3". This is Cowboys acquire Raiders 6'3" wide receiver Butler. Doesn't even have his full name. That's all it says. From the sounds of it, you can explain the meltdown probably a little better than I can.
First of all, I put it on Facebook. This was probably the dumbest game. Well, I thought it was the dumbest game I'd seen until I saw the Vikings 49ers game last night. But there was just so much stupid, especially towards the end of this game. Right? The Giants have the ball, they're leading, and they're going down the field, and they throw a play, there's a running play, a guy gets tackled, and the ball gets swatted out of there. And Odell Beckham Jr. picks it up, sprints down the field, and because he thinks it's a fumble, and obviously it was nothing. The play was already blown dead. So they had to redo the whistles, rest, stop the clock, added some time back on. And then it's like the 4-minute drill. You know, you're chewing the clock when you got the ball with the lead. Eli snaps the ball with like 20 seconds left after that play because there was so much confusion. He just snapped the ball with 20 seconds to go because they already had everything called. They were lined up, and they apparently just didn't want to wait. And then at the end of that drive, they get all the way down to, I don't know, like the 2-yard line, whatever it is. End up throwing a pass on 3rd down, which saved Dallas another 40 seconds because it was incomplete. So then in the end, Dallas gets the ball with like 1:40 left when it should have probably been like 40 seconds left. And then they just drive play after play. Tony Romo did a couple like dump off passes. I think it was like Lance Dunbar who ended up picking up like 40 yards on receiving on the drive. And then they just didn't cover Witten very well in the end zone for the game winner. It was just dumb. Like the Giants really screwed the pooch on that one. It's their game to win. They could have done anything other than what they did and probably had a better shot towards the end. But hey, fantasy team, Flex Strong, Tony Romo, and Jason Witten helped me win that game. So I'm fine with it. But yeah, man, after that, Eagles-Falcons. The Falcons get the 2-point victory.
Not looking good for my prediction of picking the Eagles to win the division. It's looking good that I picked the Falcons to win the division, though. What can I say? My boy Matty Ice is a force, especially when he has Julio Jones.
So you mean Julio Jones is a force, and Matty Ryan's the beneficiary?
Gotta give him the ball still. Are you serious?
You and I could get Julio Jones the ball.
Are you sure? Matt Ryan did throw at least one interception on, so there's that. But if the Eagles would have played 2 halves of football instead of just waiting until the second half, they probably would have won the game. But and obviously the Sam Bradford interception at the end, but that wasn't really Bradford's fault. Definitely hit Jordan Matthews in the hands. He needs to catch that instead of tipping it off his face mask into the air. Would be not ideal.
Yeah, probably not. Things I have to say are basically the same things you said. Julio is a beast. They did start slow. The Eagles did, that is, on offense. They only had 3 points by halftime. So they're down 20-3. But Bradford, I think his second half was really good. And if he can kind of play more towards that style, they'll still have a chance to put up a ton of points. The offensive line, I know, is a little bit new, reworked, but they still actually did okay. And then, hey, it's fun. Tevin Coleman getting the start. They kind of used everybody, but he still had 20 carries for 80 yards, which 4-yard average is okay. Behind that offensive line, it stinks. But I hear they're bringing in Jake Long.
Yep, they signed Jake Long, so
hopefully they can. If Jake's ever healthy, who knows if he's any good or if he's going to be healthy. But he was obviously a premier offensive line tackle for the longest time, a few years ago.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last game, Vikings 49ers with like the worst announcing crew of all time with Chris Berman and Trent Dilfer. What you got, man?
49ers looked I think we may have underestimated them a little bit. And obviously, we may have overestimated the Vikings a little bit. Adrian Peterson just had 31 yards. Teddy Bridgewater didn't look like he was really – Colin Kaepernick looked more accurate than Teddy Bridgewater, okay? And the 49ers can still do two things really well, apparently. They can still run the ball really well, even against a top-tier defense, or maybe we're just overrating the Vikings a little bit. And – even with all the losses they suffered on the defensive side of the ball, Navarro Bowman comes back and is a complete difference maker in that defense. He is now the best defensive player on that team, Brett. You got me. He is the best defensive player on the team. You win. I'm on board.
He was probably the best defensive player on that team 2 years ago.
No, he was not, Brett. Patrick Willis was the best defensive player on. Alden Smith might have been the best defensive player on that team 2 years ago.
No. They're all really good, though. If we're being fair, they're obviously all really good. Aaron Lynch, is that his name? The other outside linebacker?
Yeah.
Dude, he got some pressure all night. Obviously, that doesn't hurt. I don't know if he's going against Khalil, but he obviously is not doing a great game again. Yeah, Peterson, receivers on Minnesota didn't look any good. I mean, the whole offense was just dominated, really, from the 49ers. And Carlos Hyde is good. They let Frank Gore go at the perfect time. Drafting Hyde last year, I think was first round, giving him a year with Frank, and now handing the reins over. Looks good because Carlos Hyde was really good this week, and Frank Gore, I don't think he did anything. I don't even know if he played at all with the Colts. That's how much I heard about him this week. Yeah, so I think the 49ers, they might be. Like, it's hard to take things away from game one because obviously we're all projecting these things. So we were definitely surprised, though, by the performance of both of these teams. One positively, one negatively. So time to, I think we should, Matt, mention the standings in our Pick'em League.
Sure, that sounds good.
So in first place, we got our boy Joe Veek. Ranked number one. I don't know how he got ranked number one. Number one is Joe. I'm second. And then Du Bois, whoever Du Bois is. I don't know if that's going to be Darren or if that's going to be Daniel Boone. It's got to be one of them. Who do you think would have the higher? I don't know if I can see.
Sounds like Dan for some reason.
Du Bois. Du Bois. And then we got a whole host of dudes right under that. You're there in fourth along with Cortland. Tsunami, I think, is my friend Nate. Go Pack, and forgetting Brandon Marshall. I just like that name. And then all the way down in last place, we've got my mother. Mom's in last. She's tied with Ray Rice's retirement plan. And a friend of mine from Best Buy, Henry, they only got 8 right this week out of, is it 16? So you guys are halfway there. So, hey, if you guys
it's a long season. There's a lot of time.
Right, and if you missed this first week, you know what? You might be able to join and beat these guys towards the end of the season anyway if you're any good. So if you guys want to join in, there's still time for that. And like I said before, I don't know what we're going to do for a prize, but I got to get the winner a prize. It's probably going to end up being Joe Veek. The guy's a savant of sorts, looks like. But,
man, was there any put together a little Best Buy gift card or something?
We'll get him something. I think I kind of have an idea of something I want to do, but we'll have to figure something out. But yeah, man, is there anything else you want to talk about this week? College ball related real quick, or are there other sports that are going on? Baseball, nobody really cares about. Actually, a lot of people care about. It's just not us.
The one thing I'll mention is just that I don't follow tennis at all, but Serena Williams did lose, and I was pretty shocked by that.
She did.
I was not expecting that.
Was not. Actually, the person who beat her also was not, because they asked her if she thought she had a chance when she woke up, and she just straight up said no, she didn't. She thought it was great. She was just happy to be there. So that was shocking this last week. Obviously, still a phenomenal season for Serena. She got 3 of the 4, and she held all 4 of the Grand Slam titles at one time. I just didn't happen to be through that calendar year. Obviously, she didn't win this last one. I think it was the U.S. Open. So, but Serena probably has the most dominant. Well, that's not true, because Ronda Rousey is also very dominant. But there's some great women's dominant players right now in their respective sports. So that's kind of fun to watch and keep a track of. College ball, I don't know if there's anything important. Go Hoosiers. They got a pretty solid win here this last week. It was a little scary for a second because we had like a pick 6 and some other things go their way at the end. Which Coach Wilson, you should look this up, man. I'm going to actually find it and just tweet it at you. This is after a pick 6. One of the coaches is trying to celebrate with Coach Wilson, and Coach Wilson turns around and kind of shoves him and tells him to settle down, sort of deal. It was a very odd moment considering, what should have been a very happy and exciting time. But I don't have anything else.
Nope, that's all I got.
All right, cool. So we'll see you guys next week at about this time, and don't forget to make your picks. We'll go over those again.
Yep.